It's gonna be like one of my older videos where I just kind of yap and I don't edit it too much. It's unscripted. It's just me talking about the situation. One of the big reasons why I dislike cybersecurity are all of the creators and companies just overhyping it, turning it into a trend, and all of the beginners falling for it. Most of you are probably getting into cyber for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that you need to find a job that makes you happy and stuff like that. Like, we all know we work for money. The whole point of a job is to get a lot of money, but that's just a really big misconception. Cyber and programming don't have all that much money. People see these salaries for some really high-level engineers that work at like Microsoft or Nvidia or something. So these people are in the top 10 or 20% of a hyper-competitive field. Of course they're going to be making a lot of money. But the problem is that the average person that works in IT doesn't really make all that much money. I mean, look at how many people are trying to get into cybersecurity and then they just get stuck working for years in tech support, help desk, being a sysadmin, like all of these jobs that nobody really wants, and they pay really badly as well because they had this promise of you can work in cybersecurity and make a 6-digit salary. If you really think of how the salary works and the distribution of these things, telling somebody to get in cybersecurity in 2025 for the money is kind of like telling them, if you want to be rich, just become an actor or just be a streamer and have a couple million subscribers or 50,000 concurrent viewers. Like, yeah, if you do that, you're probably going to have a lot of money. But how realistic is it that you're going to get to that point as an average person? Like, probably not. I don't think you're going to be a multi-million making actor. So usually people are actually discouraged to do these things. They're told, you know what, if you want a whole lot of money, you probably shouldn't try to be an artist or an actor or all of these things because you're probably going to fail. And that's pretty fair. I mean, people tell you to do those things out of passion if you enjoy them. I don't really see people discouraging that. But there's a lot of people that tell you that it's just a bad career choice to try to go for that. And that's true because a lot of people do it and fail. But why do people not do it for cybersecurity? Because it's the same exact thing there. They see these people that are at the top of the industry, which make a lot of money because they're obviously at the top of a hyper-competitive industry. They're obviously going to make a lot of money. And then they just associate the entire industry with that much money. And then a lot of them just flood the market, all of these beginners with their false expectations by the creators and whatnot, telling them that, oh, they can actually do it. It's so easy to get into cyber. And then a lot of them just quit after a few months, or they just don't make it and they just simply cannot find a job for months on end. People don't really talk about that, but why don't they? Why do people tell you that it's a bad idea to try to become an actor and to get rich out of it, or a streamer or an artist, musician, whatever it might be? But nobody talks about that for cybersecurity. Well, who's going to tell you that? Me? Because it's surely not going to be the companies and the institutes selling you training and courses. So people need to understand that usually the people that make a lot of money in programming and cybersecurity are the people that graduate from the top of their class or at least go to one of the best universities in their country. This is the majority. There's also another group of people that don't go to university, and I'll go through those as well. The majority of them are top graduates, just very good at what they do academically. Usually they get some sort of a internship during their last year of university, or after they graduated. They don't have that hard of a time finding a job. They get a whole lot of offers. They're pretty good. They pass the technical interviews. They have the skills to back it up. They're pretty passionate about the topic. Maybe not like hyper passionate, but they're generally good with technical stuff, right? They're very comfortable around computers. They're intelligent people. They're very technical. So these sorts of jobs like engineering, math, computer science, they're pretty comfortable with them because that's just how they're built. So you have these people graduating from a top university, working for a couple of years, and then maybe becoming even better at their job and excelling during those years working at that job, and then they promote to an even better job. And now they're making a lot of money. Now they're making like 6 digits. How is that representative of the majority? How many people getting into cyber right now in 2025 graduate from a top university in their country in cybersecurity or computer science, have incredible skills, a decent amount of connections and networking, and manage to land a really nice job that pays them pretty decently right off the bat and scales even better? Like, that's a very small percentage of people getting into cyber, especially right now in 2025. The majority are just people that saw how overhyped cyber was as a trend. They saw the YouTubers talking about the top 10 cyber trends, best certifications, how to get into cyber, how I would redo my career. You can get into cyber and all of these things. And they got this false impression that all you need to be successful in cyber, not even be successful, let's be honest, just get a job, which is just already very hard. All you need to get a job is just, a certification or to watch 1 or 2 of my playlists, and that's it. There you go. It's a lot harder than that. There's a reason why such a large amount of people are just simply unable to find jobs, or they're stuck with really bad jobs that they hate. Speaking of jobs, I quit mine for YouTube, so yeah, I gotta get that bread. So you know how nowadays whenever you want to get a job, you have to apply to hundreds or thousands of positions until you finally land an interview? Well, it turns out that a lot of those keep your data. They sell it or they use it to spam you. That's only one example of people that misuse your personal data. You see it pretty much everywhere. This all data can be harmful to you because of how easy it becomes to look up your personal information, as well as just how much easier it is to spam you in general. So you might just think that you can request your data deletion, and you can, but then once you realize that hundreds of sources have already collected it and you don't know where to start or who to contact and don't have a centralized system, it becomes much more difficult to deal with. Which is why Incogni does that for you. You simply sign up, you get a subscription, and within a few clicks and under a minute, you can send out hundreds of deletion requests. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so even if you don't like the product, you can get a full refund, so you don't really have anything to lose. If you want more digital privacy, you can use code crin at the link below and get an exclusive 60% off on your annual Incogni plan. There's not that many jobs, and because there's so many people in the market looking for jobs, they can have really unrealistic expectations and the positions are still going to get filled. So you have all of these recruiters that ask for 3 to 5 years of experience for a job that you can learn in like 2 months. Because why would they risk getting someone that has 5 months of experience when they can just get someone with 2 or 3 years of experience? Because they're still gonna find someone, and people are just desperate for the jobs anyway. So then if you look at the market, pretty much every job just requires some sort of experience. Even the entry positions that don't require any cyber experience, which are pretty few and far between, almost always require some other IT knowledge or experience. Like maybe you have 2 years of programming and then it's a bit easier to get your first cyber job. But if you have no programming, scripting, IT experience of any kind, or if you did something like help desk or customer support, it isn't really gonna help you all that much, and it's gonna be very hard to land your first job even if you have a few basic certifications. The thing is that most people getting into cyber right now are just sheep. Like, these are the sort of people that watch my videos. You're probably one of those people. You just want to know what certification to get, what path to take. You want me to guide you through your whole path and tell you what projects to make and the easiest way to find a job, and then just kind of give you a path that you can go through. So you see all of these people, same certifications, same projects, same CVs, same courses and everything. It's just pretty much clones of each other. And then you have all of these people just battling it out for whichever job they can scrape by, and most of them don't even find a job. This is kind of just the sad reality. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to get a cyber job, because obviously it's not, but it's just a lot harder than people think it is. So, alright, the people that are in like the top 10% of the industry, they earn a lot of money, but it's very hard to get there, and most people don't get to that point. In fact, if you look at the average person working in cybersecurity or IT, it's usually somebody working a pretty bad position that is very boring, that they don't enjoy, that doesn't scale that well. The conditions are pretty bad, their coworkers are not too enjoyable to be around, they don't really get that much money. I mean, they would get as much money as any other job. It's not like they have to go through all of that, but at least they get like 5 times more than they would get at another job. Like, no, the salary is actually pretty similar. So then why do people kind of hype up cybersecurity so much in programming, and why do people think there's so much money in it? Well, they look at these people that are at the top end of their industry, and we're talking about like top 10, 20, 30% of a hyper competitive industry. Like, let's say you wanted to be top 40% in cyber, you would just simply make more money being top 10% in another industry. Doesn't matter, business, insurance, roof tiling, elevator repair, maintenance, infrastructure. You could work with utilities, a power distributor, or water resource specialist, or actuaries. Like, all of these jobs that people don't really talk about, there's a lot of money in there too. And it's a lot easier to get to like the top 20% of those than it is to get even in the top 40% of cyber or IT. But here's the thing, people don't really profit from others learning those things. Get a bachelor's in mathematics, do an apprenticeship, learn a trade, whatever it might be. Like, who's gonna profit off of that? Nobody. It's a convenient thing for you to do because it's easy money and you might enjoy the work. Like, there's so many options for you to explore, but people don't really get money by you learning those things. Now let's take a look at cybersecurity. Well, all of a sudden, buy my course, buy this certification, take the training at this overpriced institute, like whatever it might be. there's a lot of money to be made. It's not just all of the clickbait and the views and the career guides, but the amount of things that sell as well. Do my training platform, buy my course. Like, that's all you see in cyber. It's everywhere. So creators have such a predatory behavior in cybersecurity, where they capitalize off beginners and they try to sell them all of these things that just end up wasting their time and money. Sure, some of them succeed, and you keep seeing these people that are very happy with their progress. Maybe they took a course and it actually worked for them. Maybe they listened to an influencer, they paid quite a bit of money and it actually worked. You're going to be seeing their testimonies because they're going to be getting promoted by the influencer. You're going to see them talking about succeeding all over YouTube, Discord, whatever it might be, because they're proud of it, they're happy with it. They want to give a shout out to the guy that helped them. But what about all the people that don't make it? What about all the people that invest months and hundreds or thousands of dollars on all of these certifications and courses and all of these YouTube grifters, and then they realize, man, this is trash, I'm done. It didn't work out for them. They realized that they pretty much got scammed. Then they just say, enough cybersecurity, I'm out. They start unsubscribing from everything. They stop consuming cyber content. They leave the whole area and they decide to gravitate towards something else. You're not really going to be seeing those people constantly telling others, oh, cybersecurity didn't work out for me, because most of the time they're just like, nah, I'm out, I'm done with this. They're not like, okay, before I leave, let me just make sure to inform everybody about my journey and make a massive post or talk about how this influencers program didn't work for me, because like, they're already exhausted and tired and just sick of all of those things cyber related, that they don't even have a purpose. Like, it doesn't even help them to complain about it or to inform other people about it. They just want to be out and just move on. So you don't really hear about all of the people that fail, even though there's a large chunk of them. So it's just kind of this bad cycle where people get more and more baited into cybersecurity, and I just really don't like that. I don't like all the false promises. I don't like people wasting their time, their money, all of this stuff. So the conclusion when it comes to the money is that if you want decent money in IT, whether it's programming or cybersecurity, you have to be pretty good at what you do. Like, you have to be quite good at what you do. And because the competition is so high, you have to be very qualified as well. Most people make pretty bad money and they have very unenjoyable jobs. Same as every sector. The people at the top, really good jobs, really high paying, low effort, or at least low time requirements, many benefits. It's the same everywhere. The people in the middle and at the bottom, you know how it is. And it's exactly the same for cyber and everything else. Not to mention that even getting one of those bottom scraper jobs that almost nobody wants in cyber, even that is an extremely massive challenge, because even for those, the competition is absolutely massive. So I'm not going to give you a specific plan. I'm not going to tell you what exact job is the best for you or how you can do the infinite money glitch and just find a really convenient, low effort, high paying job, because everybody wants that. Everybody wants to just be able to get a 100k a year salary doing absolutely nothing and having no qualifications. But that's just not how the world works, because if those positions existed and they were that easy to get into, people would find them, get into them, the market would get oversaturated, they would no longer be easy to get into. In fact, I think that's what happened in cybersecurity as well. When I first got my first position in cybersecurity, it was extremely easy. I just got my Security Plus, I had a bit of a programming background, I lied a bit on my CV, I got into interviews, I completely aced every interview, I blew the interviewers away. I got like 6 or 7 job offers immediately, and it was just very easy in the beginning, but that was because cyber was this much smaller area that very few people were into. That was kind of like its own niche. The only real people you kind of saw around there were the people that gravitated from computer science, from programming and stuff. They realized that there was COVID, there was the AI boom, there were all of these things, and people were losing their jobs, or they just couldn't find any jobs out of university, so they started trying to like shift around other sectors, maybe mathematics or cybersecurity, whatever they could find that wasn't computer science, programming, whatever. So a lot of people landed in cybersecurity, and that's how I started in cybersecurity. I saw that the programming landscape wasn't looking too hot, and I kind of looked at cyber and I realized, wait, it's not about the university or how much time you waste. It's just about certifications and projects and skills. That's really convenient, because I don't want to have to waste like 3 to 4 weeks. I wish. I don't want to have to waste 3 to 4 years of my life going to uni and then a year or 2 or 3 doing really bad jobs that nobody wants, so I can finally get a decent job. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. And then when I first heard about cyber, it was like, whoa. I mean, that's great. I just need to get one certification. I study for it. I could finish it in 2 years. I could finish it in 2 months. It entirely depends on how much effort I put in and how much progress I make. It rewards skill and dedication over amount of time wasted. I didn't just want to waste a couple years away just to get a decent job. I would rather go for something that's much more difficult and actively engages me that takes less time than something much easier that takes a lot of time, because I value my time. So that's why I got into cyber, and I really liked it in the beginning. The problem is that now it's the exact opposite. So before in CS, people wanted a lot of experience and they didn't talk as much about technical skill. There was still some, and there were obviously all the tech interviews and stuff like that, but it was a bit more elitist. Now it's the opposite. In cyber, pretty much everybody has certifications nowadays. They don't really mean all that much. Everybody has projects and CVs. Like, all of these things are pretty much global. So the only thing that sets people apart is experience. So now cyber became this thing where you kind of have to get a degree if you want to have a better chance. And believe me, you want every single little odd you can get, because it's quite hard to get a job in the first place. So you really want that tiny advantage if you can get it. Anything that can get you an advantage is good. So you would do something like university, then you would get some really bad jobs that nobody wants for like a year, 2 or 3, and then you would kind of move your way up the bad jobs until finally you land on a decent job. And now, guess what? That's exactly what computer science was. So basically, cybersecurity did a complete 180, but you know what's funny? So did computer science. So cyber went from really good to really bad, and computer science went from bad to decent. If you look at CS now, they don't really ask for experience all that much. There are some senior positions, if you want to be a senior engineer at Microsoft, yeah, they're probably going to ask for like 6 years of experience and a lot of skills, obviously. But there are a lot of really good companies that pay an absurd amount of money. I mean, let's say I work in cyber for a year compared to working programming for a year. If in Romania I would be making $1,000 a month from the cyber position that I worked for a year in programming, I could easily be making 4 or 5K if I land at a really good company. So we're already 5xing the income, even though it's the same amount of work experience. Right, so here's the thing. If you get really good at what you do, most of them don't really care about experience that much, because they have some very hard technical interviews. So if they see that you can actually think really well and you can problem solve and you can put it in code and your code looks clean and it's efficient and you know how to optimize and scale and all of these things, you know the specific technologies they want, the frameworks, the languages. If you actually have the technical qualifications and you can do the job properly and you pass all of the interviews to show that, they're just gonna hire you. It's that easy. Because he realized this very, very important thing. You could literally just get a job, sit on that job for like 2-3 years, maybe move around different jobs, get a promotion, upgrade your job, downgrade it, whatever you do, hop around, doesn't matter. Let's say you work in a general area of cybersecurity, let's say the entry to middle area, or not even cyber, just any job. You work there for 3 years. That means very little, because in those 3 years, you could have easily been at a company that doesn't challenge you, doesn't teach you, doesn't encourage continuous growth, and you could literally just be doing the same thing every day without learning, on autopilot for years in a row, not progressing in any way. So now you have 3 years of experience, but you're incompetent. You're not good at what you do. Like, all of those years were for nothing. They're just sitting there on your CV. You didn't actually learn anything from them. Then you have this person that's extremely dedicated and very interested and motivated, and they learn in 3 months as much as you learned in your entire 3-year career. Now, to a recruiter, the guy that has under 3 years in that example would not even get an interview, even though he's 10 times better than the guy that has worked for 3 years, the guy that only worked for a few months, or that even studied for a few months and barely worked. That guy is not even gonna get a chance to be heard out. Meanwhile, the other guy is gonna get seen as much better, as a much better option, higher salary for him. Everything is just gonna be much better for the guy that worked for longer, even though he's not necessarily better. Like, it's just such a stupid thing to go over years of experience. Like, okay, think of it this way. If you're like a trauma surgeon, you work in a hospital, you're gonna get a really large variety of accidents coming in. You know, people get hurt in many different ways, and you're gonna have to treat it. Not only do you have your formal training, but you are presented with different situations every day. You need to think on the spot, you need to adapt, you need to be reliable, right? That's the whole point of it, that you get better at what you do every single day because you have all of this exposure to new stuff. But in stuff like cyber, there's many areas where you could see the same alerts over and over again and just work in like basic escalation and triaging, or work in a SOC and just not do anything. Like, you're not learning anything. You're not really being pushed to learn or get better. You're not getting this exposure to all sorts of new attacks and techniques, and being required to do a lot of research and getting better at them. So you can easily just work somewhere for years without even getting better at all. Computer science and programming actually got much better at that than cybersecurity. Because now if you pass a bunch of technical interviews and you're really good at what you do, that's all you really need to get a programming job. You don't need to work somewhere for like 5 years brainlessly without even anyone caring about what you're learning. Just simply having those years on your CV, that doesn't matter to anybody. If you're unable to pass the technical interviews and you're unable to perform on your job, you're just not going to work there, which I think is completely fair. So yeah, I'm very unhappy with the state of cybersecurity. And I'm also unhappy with the state of cyber YouTube content and YouTubers in general. So my problem with cyber content is that a lot of it is aimed at beginners. If I look up cybersecurity right now, let's see what I get. Cybersecurity explained in 8 minutes. Cybersecurity has a problem. Stop studying cybersecurity. The complete cybersecurity roadmap. How to become a cybersecurity engineer. Day in the life of a cybersecurity analyst. How I would learn cybersecurity if I could start over in 2025. Basically, all of these are just aimed at beginners. You know, there's like the top 10 certifications, highest paying cyber jobs. How to get into cyber, like everything is just aimed at beginners because they capitalize on this trend. And I really don't like that, because think of it this way. What if I were to make a video right now, just deconstructing an anti-cheat? Let's say I'm talking about Vanguard. I just do a very deep dive in Vanguard. I talk to some Chinese cheat devs that tell me as much as they can tell me, because they're obviously not going to talk about ongoing technologies and methods. Maybe they tell me about the past. Maybe they give me the past 1 year of development experience with what technologies they used to evade the kernel level anti-cheat and which ones got patched and how they worked. And because they already got patched, they can like talk about it. So if I were to do a bunch of those interviews and do a lot of research and make a really high quality video on everything that goes into a kernel level anti-cheat, and I would explain everything at the operating system level, I would make this very advanced, interesting documentary that anybody could understand, and the people that would be interested would absolutely love it. Like the people that are passionate about cyber would absolutely love it. So here's the thing about that video. It would be like a 30 to 40 minute video. It would require a lot of research, some money, a lot of editing, and a very large amount of time. We're talking about a couple 100 hours to create that 30 to 40 minute, very interesting, high quality documentary. Why would I ever do that and get the same, if not a quarter of the views that I would get by just turning on my camera, yapping for 10 to 20 minutes, maybe editing it down a bit, putting some sort of clickbait that people are used to, and then just getting a few views, just getting more views than I would get from the documentary. Yeah, the documentary would be higher quality content, but the thing is that like 80% of the views don't even come from the quality of the video. They just come from making people click. Then you have to get them to stay for a little bit. The amount of people that would actually watch that sort of documentary, or even any sort of high quality content that takes hundreds of hours to make, the amount of extra people that you would get to stay engaged and to enjoy your video and whatnot, would be maybe 20% of the audience. The other 80% would click away in the first 3 to 4 minutes, no matter what the video is about. It can be a very simple, bad video or a very high quality video. They're out in the first 3 minutes, either because they don't have time, because they're not interested, because they just clicked out of curiosity and left. So basically 80% of the views you get even if you put 10 minutes or 200 hours into a video. So then the amount of extra effort just comes down to that last 20%. But here's the thing, it's just inefficient for people to spend, let's say, 180 extra hours on top of the default 1 hour just to get maybe 20% more views, or maybe even way less views, because people just aren't going to click on it because it's just not as clickbaity. How am I going to get people to click on like the most interesting advanced operating system interactions with like kernel level development and cheats versus anti-cheats, these massive teams of multi-million-dollar industries that get insane salaries from selling the cheats, or the anti-cheat devs that battle each other constantly and they find the most advanced methods in the world, and it's just like this such an interesting thing. How could I really put that in a title that's going to get people to click? Like, it's just going to be hard for people to even get to the video in the first place. Meanwhile, how hard do you think it would be for me to just go, I hate cybersecurity, don't get into cybersecurity, you're doing cybersecurity wrong? Like, that sort of a title with just like a 6 to 10 minute video of me just talking, and that's it. It's just not worth it to create high quality content. And I'm kind of upset that people consume it all the time, and that these career YouTubers that make the same videos hundreds of times still get views on them. Like, it's mind-blowing. They literally just recycle the same content over and over again. Again, I'm not gonna hate on them too much. I get it. They do it because it works. But like, why are you guys watching it? So then you might just point out my content, and fair enough, I do have some bad videos on my channel. I wouldn't really say bad, but like, I didn't put in hundreds of hours on all of my videos. My highest effort video out of all of them was actually my anime video, which at this time has 5.4k views in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, when I make a video trash talking other cybersecurity YouTubers, I get 322,000 views. I mean, it's just completely disproportional. Either way, the content that I'm gonna make and my personal channel and stuff like that, that's like a whole another topic. I don't really want to get too much into that. Long story short, I'm just gonna try to make videos that I'm proud of, like my Python video for Osu. I was just very happy with that project. I really enjoyed making it. I enjoyed documenting it. I think it was very entertaining and enjoyable and informative. So I want to do stuff like that in the future. In fact, my next video is gonna be like that. So, stay tuned for it. If you got this far, I hope you're subscribed. If not, then, check my other videos, and if you like them, then sub. But here's how I made my channel. People kept asking me on Discord how to get into cybersecurity. There were people like me. They were gamers without a university degree. They didn't really have that many skills. They just sat on their computer all day, and they knew they wanted to work from their computer. A bunch of them weren't really that good at programming, so they came to me to ask me about cybersecurity because it was less programming based. So I told them, like, okay, let's go over it. Let me tell you everything you need to know to succeed in cyber. If you're gonna make it in cyber, this is gonna be the most efficient way to do it. So then I hopped in call for them. I talked to them for 2 hours about it. To me, it was fine to waste about 2 hours of my time in order to help somebody not waste weeks of their time or to go down the wrong path. Like, I thought that was completely worth it because nobody did that for me, so I had to struggle a lot more when I got into cybersecurity myself. The problem is that these people that came to me for help, and I legit spent hours teaching them, and then there were times where I did it just like I just woke up, and in the morning I hopped in call with them for 2 hours. I was completely exhausted for the whole rest of the day because I did that. And then I see that in like 3 days they quit. First I tell them to do the Professor Master playlist, right? I give them a whole introduction about what cybersecurity is, if it's right for them or not, the different types of jobs, how to get your security plus, what to do, the most efficient way to do everything, just to like get them on track. And then the first step of that would be, watch some Professor Messer videos, get familiar with security plus concepts because you're going to be taking your security plus. Then I talked to them like a few days later and I asked them, what video are you at? And they say, I'm going to start a bit later. I haven't gotten to start it. Okay, well, fair enough. A week or two later, I did like half a video in 2 weeks. Okay. And then I come back like 2 months later and now they just quit. Like, they just didn't even start. So it's like, okay, they completely wasted my time helping them, checking up on them, trying to, be nice to them. So when I kept seeing that people did this multiple times, I realized it's just not worth my time helping people that aren't even gonna do the bare minimum. However, I didn't want to give up on everybody because there were some people that actually did the things I told them and they managed to reach the goals that they wanted. I knew that there were also good people there. I didn't want to just discard everybody because of a bad group of people. So I wanted to help those people, and I also didn't want to waste too much of my time constantly repeating the same things. And then I realized I'm mostly just telling everybody generally the same thing. So why would I call them and say the same thing over and over again when I can just record it and send them the recording? So that's how my YouTube channel started. I just recorded a basic cybersecurity max efficiency roadmap with like just the most generic steps. And then I made a video on how to get the security plus. I made a video about how to make a proper CV. And then I made one more video with just general misunderstandings that people have about cybersecurity, just so people don't make like basic beginner mistakes. And that was it. I was going to be done with cybersecurity after that. I didn't even think that they would like get views on YouTube because the last time I checked, YouTube did not promote small channels at all. If you didn't have a following, you will not get promoted. You get like 2 views per year. So the only way to grow a channel would be to get a massive shout out or to like spam advertise it. To me, YouTube was just kind of like a hosting platform where I can just host my video so I can send it over Discord. I never thought I would get views on YouTube. And then apparently since I last used YouTube or like uploaded on YouTube, they reworked the algorithm and now it gives so much more exposure to small channels, especially if they get good metrics. And then my channel just blew up. I was getting like thousands of views. I was getting so many people. And then I started getting like 100k, 200k views per video. It was absolutely mind-blowing to me. And then I continued making my channel, but people kept asking me like, are you going to make more guides on cyber? And I told them no, because those are the only videos that I wanted to make. Those are the main things you need to know to get into cyber. You pretty much need about 1 hour of content to tell you everything you need to know to efficiently get into cyber. Anything more than that, and you're just fishing for views, you're just getting money out of people. So I didn't want to be one of those people that just created a video every few days, every week, saying the same thing, repeating myself, getting people to click on it, clickbaiting them, wasting their time. I had my videos. If people wanted to use them, fair enough. If they didn't, fair enough. I did my part. It was up to them to follow up on what I said on the video or to watch the video or whatever. I wasn't gonna actively try to get the same videos over and over again just to get views. Like, I don't like that. And that's what pretty much every single cyber YouTuber does nowadays. Obviously there are exceptions, and then there's like the people that make tutorials. I'm not really a huge fan of the tutorial channels. Then there's people like John Hammond, which actually have more entertaining content. I think he's on the like better side of cyber content, but those are very, very few. I mean, that's probably like a handful of channels out of like hundreds of trash content channels. Either way, I'm not gonna get too deep into this subject. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the yapping session. I kind of ran it back to all the way back when I started my channel, where to my first video actually, where my first video was like 40 minutes long. It was just me talking with a paint slideshow. Like I wrote some stuff in paint and I was like scrolling through the paint window to show people how to get into cyber. And it was just like this unedited me just keeping it real, and people loved it. So, I thought I would do like a little throwback to that as one of my last cyber videos, where I just talk about why I'm tired of everything. I hate all of this shit. I'm just so done with it. The creators, the community, the stupid questions, the stupid comments, the overhyping, the trend, the job market, the recruiters, the absurdity, the nonsense. I am so tired of all of it. I'm so tired of the lies and the delusions and the fake expectations and false promises. I just am so done with cyber. So you know what? I'm gonna continue my path to become, I don't even know, man. I'm studying computer science. I'm going for like a low-level field. Maybe I'm gonna do security research, vulnerability research later on. Who knows? Maybe I'm just gonna be doing programming and algorithms and I'm just working in CS. Or maybe I just become a full-time streamer. I just made a Kick account. They didn't really like what I had to say on Twitch, so I kind of got banned from Twitch. So if you want to follow me there, go ahead. But yeah, I don't really see myself working in cybersecurity or involving myself too much with the cybersecurity community, because I just dislike a lot of them personally. A lot of the people, even the more competent ones, I kind of dislike them. So that's just my opinion. You guys do you, find whatever is best for you. Don't let people tell you that there is one best path for you to take or that this career fits you the best. Only you know if it's actually good for you. But it is important to just take a moment and just reflect on why you're getting into this career and if it's actually good for you. If it matches what your expectations are from life, and if you actually enjoy the work, or at least you're very good at the work. Because it's not really a good idea to go for a job that just doesn't fit you at all. You're just gonna waste a lot of time and money, and you're probably just better off finding a better job for yourself. But on the flip side, if you really enjoy it and it's just it's for you, then go ahead and grind it out. The competition is gonna be a bit annoying, but it is gonna pass eventually. You will land your first job at some point. Things are going to get easier over time. So if you actually enjoy this stuff, then, keep going for cyber. I'm not going to discourage you out of doing something that you enjoy and that's good for you. It's just important to take a moment and actually think of what you're doing, because I feel like a lot of people are in it for the wrong reason, which is going to conclude my video. So yeah, thanks for coming and watching this yapping session. It's 45 minutes unedited, so let's see how long it is post-editing. Oh god, how am I gonna find the background footage for this? I hope my perspective helped. That's about it, so I'll see you in the next video.